Hi, so we're at the Caravan show at the NEC and we're here with Sir Ranulph Fiennes, Britain's or the world's greatest living explorer, and we've got 10 quickfire questions for him in the outdoor bloke test. We think he'll probably be rather well at this. So the first question is, have you ever been a Boy Scout?
I was a wolf cub when I arrived in England from South Africa in the Wood Pigeon Patrol at the prep school in Wiltshire for 2 years, and I can remember, on my honour, I promised to do my best to God and the Queen to help other people at all times, sir.
Yeah. Good memory. How long ago was that then?
Well, I was 11, so it was 55.
Wow.
Yeah.
A few decades back. Okay, 1 point. Have you ever caught your supper and eaten it, obviously?
Fish-wise, no. I hate to say it, but in the army, the Arab army, they did, when they ran out of goats, which we carried in the Bedford 3-ton lorry, when they ran out of goats, they did shoot a dabbi, which is a gazelle, a Thompson's gazelle, of which herds would be all over the damn place. They did shoot one and they did cook it, and I did eat it, but I didn't really approve of doing it.
Right, okay. But it's done, so we'll give you a point for that one. Have you ever slept under the stars? I.e. not bivouac, no tent, no caravan?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in Arabia, in 3 years in the army, we were sleeping under the stars the whole time. And in the desert there, the stars really were stars. I'd spent a lot of time doing navigation at the Army School of Navigation in Hermitage, and they would take us out at night, and in between the cloudy bits, when you were waiting for the stars to reappear in a particular quadrant, one would then sometimes fall asleep, although you're not meant to, right under the particular named stars, not just stars generally.
Yeah. Okay, have you ever been skinny dipping?
Many times, but not in the Arab army. That was sort of looked down on. In the Cold War in Germany, I was in charge of the canoe team in the Scottish Regiment, and every now and again I would be forced by the jocks to allow them to park the canoes. We had 12 canoes on each adventure training trip in Europe, and one of them, which was up the Danish coastline.
Oh yeah.
And I discovered, I hadn't realised it in advance at all, that there was a nudist camp on the beach where we canoed past, and it was impossible to get the Scots soldiers not to stop there. So I therefore was forced to stop there.
Of course,
and because nobody had their shorts on, we naturally, out of being polite, removed our shorts.
Excellent, good answer. Fantastic. Okay, next question, and so far a full 4 out of 4. Have you ever built a treehouse?
Yep, in the grounds on Exmoor for my stepson, who was 9 then, he's 22 now. We did build it, but my wife, his mum, didn't like the way you climbed up to where we built it. It was just 6-inch nails. You put your foot on something, and when he was 9, you slip and get a nail down the side. So that got bad marks, but the house is still standing. Yeah.
Excellent. Have you ever been lost in the wild?
I've been lost in London on a day you couldn't see the sun. This is before sat-nav. And have I been lost in the wild? On the Trans-Globe expedition as a navigator, crossing Antarctica and crossing the Arctic, like on the way to the South Pole, dead simple. You make sure that you set out in such a way that the sun is always at midday behind you, and then you don't have to use anything other than the position of your shadow.
Wow.
So that at 6 p.m. the shadow should be there. Yeah, midday it should be there, 6 a.m. it should be there, and to double check. Normally there'd be 3 of us doing the big polar expeditions, and I would make sure that the one behind me was a mile behind me, and the one behind him was a mile behind him. So I would look backwards and take the bearing of the last hour, stop every hour, and if it was a degree out, I'd offset the next by a degree in the opposite direction.
Right.
And we did 2,500 miles without a feature, with virtually no error whatsoever.
Wow. And how far's the horizon there then?
It depends. If it's a whiteout, it's sort of there.
Right.
In which case, you're having very slowly, because each person has a natural in a whiteout. They go off to the left quite quickly, or to the right quite quickly, or they zigzag. So you get to know that particular person's failings. And for nearly 20 years, the other bloke was called Charlie, but he's dead now, Charlie Burton from South Africa. So got to know very well. And then when he died, Dr. Michael Stroud, who I do expeditions with for 30 years, I know what he does. He's got a big curve off to the left, not politically, but
Excellent. Okay. Have you ever been chased by an animal?
Chased. I've been chased by an Aberdeen Angus bull belonging to my wife on Exmoor, and really surprised myself how quickly I ran for the fence, and just literally vaulted over the fence. And it, for some reason, came to a halt. Sometimes they just bash through fences. So I've been chased by an Aberdeen Angus bull, and one of my jobs was to put on a tweed cap, a white coat like a doctor, an Aberdeen Angus Society tie, and to go round and round a concrete thing holding the bull with whilst my wife chatted up the prospective buyers. So one would go round and round like that. It wasn't one of those bulls, but I remember it very well.
Excellent. And have you ever climbed a mountain?
Did you say a wild animal?
No, an animal.
Good.
Yeah, you still up full marks.
It wasn't wild. Yeah.
It was a bit wild. Enraged. Have you ever climbed a mountain?
I climbed Everest to the summit, but on the third attempt.
Right.
I tried from Tibet, and on the very last night, 300 meters from the summit, after 2 months playing around, I got a massive angina attack where I'd had the double bypass, and so I didn't get to the top. That was 2005. and 2008. I tried again from the easy side, that's Nepal, and we came across the body of my Sherpa's father, and we came across the body of a Scottish friend of mine on the last night, and then we came to the body of a Swiss climber who had just got to the top without oxygen and got hypoxia on the way down, and they were burying him at the buttress, which is only 4 hours from the top.
Right.
And generally speaking, our sort of morale dropped. But the next year, 2009, and I knew that this was my last chance to beat the world record of being the first human to cross both ice caps and climb Everest. So I had to do it that year, basically. So I became the first OAP to do it. I got the world record for the 3 poses, they call it, and all the Daily Mail said, typical, was, well, it was dead easy for him because he had a bus pass. So, they are unbelievable.
Have you ever hitchhiked?
Have I ever hitchhiked? Yeah, I spent with my Scottish cousin, Greville, we hitchhiked all over the place. And I remember when we were going to Paris, in the UK it was dead easy in those days, but on the other side it was quite difficult. But Greville was a Scotsman, and he had said what would be good, because we didn't have any money in those days, was if we take our kilts, we'll be able to sing in Paris in restaurants and make a bit of money, sort of thing, which sounded like a good idea. And people from behind, lorry drivers in France, might think we're women and pick us up. But they didn't pick us up. So he said, I know what it is. And we fashioned headscarves. And from behind, we must have looked female, because this Yorkshire bloke stopped his lorry. To begin with, he was very angry when he saw it was 2 males. But after a bit, he saw the funny side, and we got all the way to the outskirts of Paris.
Fantastic, good tactic. Finally, have you ever been a hero in an outdoor?
I hate the word hero, but I was contracted by one of the publishers, maybe Hodder, to write a book called My Heroes. So I selected, I think I can't remember, maybe 6 or 7. I selected a cold hero, Captain Scott.
Oh right, yeah.
And tried to make out all the lies which had been told about him by people who've never been there. And I found a Hots hero, a bloke called Thesiger.
Right.
And so I wrote about him. I can't really remember, but maybe there were quite a few more. That might not have all been expedition heroes, there might have been battles.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was called My Heroes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Buy it now. Well, that's it. It was that easy. 10 quick questions.
That's
10
great.
out of 10.
That's great.
That's
Right.
fantastic. Thank you very much.
Somehow managed to mention the word Land Rover as being the best vehicle in the world. my vehicular hero, Land Rover.
An ambassador for Land Rover, obviously.
Yeah, a paid ambassador.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
No, cheers.
Thank you.